Good evening. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Assistance Center at Suffolk County Community College's presentation tonight on the MWBE certification application process and the supporting documents. It's going to be presented by Kenya Harvey, which is me. I am the project coordinator and MWBE consultant for the center. Tonight I'm going to talk about the different certifications that you're able to obtain with New York State. The first certification, if you are a minority business owner, you would apply for the MBE certification. For women business owners, you would apply for a WBE certification. If you're a minority and a woman business owner, you will apply for the MWBE, which you can check them off on the application once you open them. I also wanted to, I know this was covered in our last webinar, but in order to apply for certification, you have to understand what your eligibility is, right? So under Article 15A of the Executive Law, any for-profit firm that is at least 51%, let me just move this. 51%, oh, hold on, I'm sorry. 51% owned, operated, and controlled by citizens or permanent resident alien who are either a woman and a minority is eligible for certification. The list of minority groups who are eligible, we have Black persons having origins from any of the Black African racial groups. We have Hispanic persons of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Central or South American descent, or either Native American or Latin American origin, regardless of race. We also have Asian Pacific persons having origins from the Far East, Southeast Asia, or Pacific Islands. Also Asian Indian subcontinent persons having origins from the Indian subcontinent. Lastly, we have Native American persons having origins in any of the original places, original peoples of North America. So more eligibility requirements. You must also know that all businesses seeking the MBE, the WBE, or the MWBE certification must be independently owned, operated, and controlled by a minority and or women member. The ownership must be real, substantial, and continuing. And the minority or the woman member must exercise the authority to independently control the day-to-day business operations and decisions. The personal net worth restriction, for that restriction, each minority and woman owner upon whom certification is based cannot have a personal net worth exceeding 3 million after allowable deductions, which does not include ownership interest in the certified MWBE firm or business, the individual's equity in his and her primary residence, and up to $750,000 of any qualified retirement savings plan. The firm cannot exceed 300 employees. So this certification is for a small business owner. It also must operate independently of other firms. You must also demonstrate business activity and be in operation for at least 1 year. If you're an out-of-state applicant, the firm is to be currently certified as an MWBE in their home state if they have a process like this. And before applying for MWBE certification here in New York State, you must be registered with the Department of State to conduct business in New York State. And if you would like to find out more about how to apply for that authority, you would visit the Department of State or give them a call at 518-473-2492. And I also have their email address. So required documents for this application. So in this application, you will need proof of citizenship and your gender. So you can provide your birth records, US passport, military records, green cards, etc. Business documents that you will need, including your New York NYS 45 forms and W3 forms if you have employees, loans that you have taken out for the business, or personally taken out for the business. Credit agreements, leases, and supply agreements. So third-party agreements will be needed if you have them in this application. Partnership and LLCs, you will need your assumed name certificate from the county clerk, your operating agreement for LLCs, and partnership agreements if there is a partnership there. Complete copies of your most recent year personal and business taxes, which will include your IRS 1065 and Schedule K-1 tax forms. In addition, your professional background. So to prove your expertise in your industry that you're operating, and past experiences, maybe in the same industry, you will need to provide your resume, a personal and professional licenses, and permits or certifications. So we're going to jump right into the application. So this is where you would go to apply for MWBE certification with New York State. If you could see to my left, it says certify or recertify with New York. You would go click on that tab, and then I'll go to the next slide with instructions, but this is the link where you would access this platform here. ny.nycontracts.com. So the application process. So when you're on this site and you choose Certified with New York, you're going to go down and choose option 1 to create a business profile and your username and password. Once you create your username and password, you're able to get in and out of the application when you need to. So if you go in, start a new application, right? So whether you're going to apply for the WBE or the MBE or both, the system will create an application based on your current business structure. So if you're a sole proprietorship, the application will be geared towards, and the questions and the documents will be geared towards sole proprietors. Same for LLCs or corporations or INCs. So once you open up this application, the new application, it's going to ask you, which you should see after a few clicks, whether you choose to do an electronic upload or you would like to fax or mail in the documents. I always suggest doing the electronic upload so that it's able to, everything's in one place and there's no mishap on not receiving documents for your application. So always choose the electronic upload. If you open the application and need assistance with uploading these documents, feel free to reach out to us or me. Anyone here at the center will be able to assist you with that upload. Also, know your supporting documents required. So once you open the application, it will tell you the list of documents that you will need to get notarized, to complete for this application. And in addition to that, we'll go into it a little further down the slides, the document section of the application. Once you open your application, you will notice that there is a deletion date you will be given, which will allow you to have this application open for 90 days. Once that 90 days is up, that application will be deleted, and everything that you have done will be deleted if you started it. You can ask for an extension. The extensions are granted by week. So if you want, you can extend it out as far as it'll let you go. And then if you need more time past that, you would need to call the help desk, which that information is provided below. Okay, and then also in this application, there's going to be questions in the document list that you'll need to, if they're not applicable to you, to upload a Word document that says not applicable on your letterhead. So if it's not applicable, you put not applicable. If you have a reason why it's not applicable, you put the reason in that statement as well. Just remember that every required question must be answered. So again, if it's something that you cannot provide, you write an explanation and write it on letterhead and upload it to that question. Application section breakdown. So I'm going into the sections of the application. So once you open the application, you'll see these sections that needs to be complete. There's a couple of questions in each section that you will be required to answer. Company profile. So what I did was list some of the things that you may need to think about before going in to complete these sections. So in the profile, company profile, you add your business information, okay? And in this section, it's going to ask you for 3 years gross receipts. So we're in 2022, so you would need gross receipts for 2019, 2020, and 2021. Second section. Oh, and also, I'm sorry, and the number of employees. So whether excluding you, excluding the owners, how many employees do you have, full-time, part-time, or seasonal, temporary or seasonal? You will include that in that section as well. Ownership information. This is where you would add the owner or owners if you're a partner. Also, the sources of capitalization, which I went into a little bit last webinar, and I will go into it a little bit more after these slides. And also the names of board of directors. So if you are a partnership or if you have others that are on your board, their names would go in this section. But for a one-member business organization, I would suggest it would be just the owner's name there. Commodities and services. In this section, you would add, this is where you would add your detailed description of services. So again, we talked about how to create your detailed description, and I actually provided that in a slide later on as well to show you exactly how detailed your description should be. And also this section is where you would select your NAICS codes. So don't worry if you don't know what your NAICS codes are. There is an area that will allow you to search for your NAICS codes. Okay, so just know what your activities are before you go in so that you're able to search for those codes. And just remember too as well that you can have as many codes as you need, as many codes for the services you provide. So just whatever it is, if it's 10 services you provide, you'll need 10 NAICS. Business operations. In the business operations section, this is where you would list the owner or owners' managerial responsibilities. So, who's hiring, who's preparing bids, who's, doing the marketing, the financials, all that will go there. But also in this section, section 4C and 4D asks you for your last 3 years business activity for your largest clients that you assisted. And so the previous years for the would be 2018, 2020, 2021. And for the current business would be, anyone that you assisted in 2022. So again, when you're going in, just, start making that list of all your clients, the largest ones that you assisted. You would need to include their where their location, their names, a phone number, the date that you assisted them, and the amount that you were paid for that job. Also, the next section is company's assets and liabilities. So in this section, you're going to list whether you rent or lease office space, warehouse, maybe a plant or yard space that the business occupies. So just, if you're renting, you would have to supply your agreements, your lease. Now, if you are working from home and you own a home, you would supply your mortgage statement for that section. Okay, so we talked a source of capitalization. So documented proof of sources of capitalization must be uploaded in the document section. So types of startup investments that you can use as a source of capitalization would be, the purchase of major equipment, used from your personal savings accounts, vehicles, company vehicles, or even a vehicle that you're using to do the work. Business registration fees, definitely. Your filing receipt with Department of State or the county clerk's office. Real estate, if you had to purchase land or a place to operate, even inventory. If you had to purchase inventory for your business, definitely add that there. And also expertise in the industry is a great source of capitalization if you're coming in with the expertise to operate or the experience to operate your business. If you had to hire employees or even finance receivables, these would all be great sources of capitalization to note in the application. So business description. So this is a slide where I'm going to give you an example of the type of description that you should put in that section, right? So for example, I provide environmental consulting services. It doesn't really say much. So if a buyer wanted to know more, they would have to reach out to know more. But for marketing purposes, you want to be as detailed as possible so that you don't get, miss any opportunities coming to you. So this detailed example states our firm specializes in providing terrestrial, ecological, and environmental services. Our primary areas of expertise include flora and fauna surveys, biological inventories, wetland delineations, rare species surveys, and habitat suitability, assessments, vernal pool surveys, invasive species identification and mapping, habitat and community evaluations and mapping, bird surveys by sight and sound, species, monitoring using unmanned aircraft, and for example, drone. That is very detailed, right? And this is exactly how your description should be. Just try to be as detailed as possible. And if you need assistance with writing this description, our clients, we do provide that assistance as well, so that you are able to come up with a great marketing business description. The NAICS codes, right? So again, I told you that the NAICS codes, there's a section where you're able to look up the codes for the services you provide in the application. But just keep in mind that the code selected must represent the activities that you're currently doing, right? And the activities must be done over the last year. Codes for activities not yet performed will not get approved, right? But don't worry, because later on you can update the application to include those new codes. So the other half of the application section breakdown. So relationships with other businesses. In this section, you would add your relationships with other firms, whether, let's say, you work full-time and you operate your business part-time, you will include that full-time job there. You will include if anyone has any other stake in your business there. It's about a few questions that go into, the relationships of other firms. But if you're working somewhere else and doing your business part-time, just note it, okay? And then it gets a little bit more simpler. 7 and 8 are questions that they ask you. And number 7, outside consultants. So there's 2 questions there. Actually, I believe they added another one on, business consultant. But for the most part, it's, you add your accountant information if you have an accountant, or your business attorney. So if you have an accountant and not a business attorney, that's fine. Or you have an attorney and not an accountant, that's also fine. Okay, but you would note that there. Other certifications. Are you certified with any other agency? Then you check the box, right? Yes or no. And then we move on to the document list. So in this document list, this is where you would upload, depending on your structure, your corporation documents or your sole proprietor documents, your taxes, and other required documents. But for the most part, I do want to go into these documents here, the certification affidavit, the attachment A, the attachment B, and the ethnicity attestation clause. So I'm going to just stop my screen for a moment so that I can pull up the first document, which is the certification application affidavit. Okay, so this is the certification affidavit. So this was the previous certification affidavit that they used. Hold on a moment. Okay, and this is the one that they previously used. Now, it's a 2-page document here, but if you notice that on the first page, it lists what you're supposed to do. So at the top, it says, this application, including any supplementary documentation, must be verified under oath in the following manner. So A, if your enterprise is a sole proprietorship by owner, or if the enterprise is a partnership by partner, you would complete A, right? And then for B, if the enterprise is a corporation by a corporate officer designated by the board of directors, you would complete option B. But let's go down and check it out. So on this page, even on the new affidavit, there are sections that you would sign to and get notarized that, you know, you are either a woman applying for certification or a minority and a woman applying for certification. You're just, you know, notarizing that you are confirming that you are a woman and are a minority applying. But these are the two sections on this affidavit. Okay, so the A is the top one, but don't forget up top, you know, you have to sign there and then put, you know, the state of, the county of, and then choose either A or B. And then on the bottom, you get notarized, sign and date and notarize. Okay, so these are one of the forms that are required for this application as well. Okay, and then the next documents we're going to go into would be, hold on, the attachment A. Okay, can everyone see that? Not sure if it's showing. Okay, so here we go. The attachment A, your personal net worth. So, you know, how do you, this is the form that once you determine your net worth, you would add that amount here to this form. So this form is asking for your name, your social, and your percentage in the business. So if you should be 51% here or more here, and then the name of the business, and then what your net worth is calculated to be goes here. Okay, and then once you complete the top, you sign and notarize. Okay, and then you upload it to the section in the application. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, the attachment B, great. So the attachment B financial statement worksheet is needed if your net worth exceeds 1.3 million, the 1.3 million threshold in the application. But what I do suggest with this document, if you don't exceed the 1.3, you can also use this worksheet to help calculate your net worth, right? So if you don't know your net worth, you complete this worksheet here, you know, and your assets, you know, once you put all your, you know, what's applicable to you, go here in the total, and then you do the same for your liabilities. So it'll be your assets minus your liabilities will get you your net worth. Okay, and then we have more slides, fields here to complete. Whatever is not applicable, just put not applicable in that section so that it looks like you didn't just miss it. And the application, this page would be, this document would be complete once you do that. Okay, and just keep in mind that down here, section 4, when it asks about the real estate, that it doesn't include the primary residence, right? So you don't have to include where you live, but if you do have rental property that you are, that you have, or any other property that you are a part of, you would definitely include it here. So if you are married and you and your husband are on, in one property together, it'll be split in half. You would only list half of what's there, well, half of the amount. Okay. I'm going to now go into the ethnicity clause form. Do apologize for it being a little crooked, it looks like. But this form is needed if you're applying for MBE certification. So in the application, if this is not there, you must get it, okay? It should be there to download for you to complete. So on this form, you would choose where your background is, which one are you certifying, your groups, right? And then you would also get this notarized as well on the bottom, signed and notarized. And then you upload it to the document section. Okay, but I want to show you this, I call it the Bible. If you're able to get a hold of this document here, it's called the Supporting Documents Checklist, right? So use it when you're opening up the application so you know that you're getting your documents that you need, right? So, for all applicants, these are required. And we went over some of this stuff here, your resume. So the bank signature card or letter from the bank. So the signature card is a document, right? I know it says card, but the document does have signature card on it, and it's usually probably given it out when you first open the account. But if you're not able to get that document, or you don't know where it is, misplaced it, you're free to go to the bank and ask for a letter from them stating that who's authorized signer on the account and if there are any limitations or not. So you can see that this document is a little older because of the most recent 3 years federal and state tax returns. The new requirement is the most recent year. So just as long as you have the most recent year tax return, you are fine for business and your personal. Okay, we went over the attachment A, documented proof of sources of capitalization, and the ethnicity clause. Proof of citizenship, we talked about, your passports, naturalization certificates, proof of permanent resident status, your birth certificate. We talked about signed lease agreements. So this is what you would need to help you get through with those documents. If you're doing this on your own, to help guide you through all the documents. Okay. I'm going to actually go into, let's go back to the presentation. So now we're going to go into the addendums in this application, the one-stop shop application, I call it, for the New York State, because in this application, you're able to apply for certifications with 3 other agencies. One being New York City Department of Small Business Services, second, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, third, the County of Erie and City of Buffalo Joint Certification Committee as well. So, but for County of Erie and City of Buffalo, I recommend if you're not able to be there to provide the services, the certificate, I would not advise someone from here on Long Island in, providing a service that, maybe they deliver to or have to be there physically to perform the service. And if that's a challenge, I would consider just doing New York City and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. And I would like to show you those addendums as well. Hold on one moment. Okay. So this is the addendum for New York City. Okay. And in this addendum, looks like this. That's page 1. And this is page 2. So what you would do is complete, it's very simple, just basic information for your business here. Let's go down a little bit more. Now that's page 2. Now on page 3, at the top, where it asks, do you have a valid New York City FMS vendor number? If you don't have one, you need to get one. Okay, so this box, you want to check off yes, because you do have to be registered there to get the certification. And it doesn't take long to get. You would go to the payee information portal to complete the registration, and about, let's say 20, 30 minutes or so, depending on how fast you can do it, you'll get the vendor number, and along with a W-9 for the city. And then once you get this done, you just, sign, and this is just asking for your sign and date here on this one. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next addendum I would like to show you is the one with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, which looks like this. Now, these addendums can be downloaded in the application. Next to the question, they'll have the button to download it. Okay, there's some instructions on how you register with them on their site, creating a vendor profile with them as well. Okay. And then on this one, you sign and date. County of, state of, county of. Here's that A and B again. You choose which one applies to you. And then again, you get this notarized. Sign, date, and notarize. There is a code of ethics form here for you to review as well. Oh, just please note that I will be taking questions towards the end of the presentation. So feel free to put a question in the Q&A or in the chat, and I will respond as soon as I see them. Okay. So let's go back to the presentation. So once the application process when submitted, right? So once the application is submitted, so the Department of MWBE has created a new process for review, for processing applications. So they created a 4-phase process. In phase 1, the application intake. This is what happens in this phase. They receive the application and review it to make sure that all the documentation is there that needs to be, right? And phase 2, they verify the documents. And they may ask if they need more information or more clarification. There may be additional documents that they ask for. Phase 3 is the compliance team, is when the NACIT codes are assigned. So based on the codes you selected and the proof of activities you uploaded will be the codes you get assigned, okay? Decision 4, phase 4 is just decision support, which determines your outcome of the application. So to learn about once your application is submitted and to know what phase your application is in, I would urge calling the help desk to find that out, to find the status, which I will provide that information shortly in a few more slides. Oh, and now we have time for questions. Okay, so are there any other questions? I see a few. Oh, what if you don't know your net worth? I'm not sure if you stated that before. I actually went over the net worth worksheet, the person with the attachment B. So if you don't know your net worth, you use the attachment B to help you calculate it. Again, it'll be your assets minus your liabilities will give you your net worth. And don't worry if it's a negative or zero, because I've seen them both. I have another question. Hi, Caitlin. So yes, so the slides, we actually provide links to our YouTube, our social media. So this is where you will find a recording of this presentation. So if you do need that, Jay, can you put that in the chat as well? You're very welcome. Are there any other questions regarding the certification process or the documents? Okay. So if there are no other questions, I am going to go into some announcements. I'd like to share my screen. So it looks like we're having, I'm not going to keep everyone on long this evening, but I just want to share some upcoming webinars that we are holding here at the center. So on April 26th, so that's learn how to navigate the New York State Contract Reporter. That's going to be presented in Spanish. Also on April 28th, we will have that same presentation, but in English. On May 3rd, we're going to do access to capital. It's a great webinar. That's going to be presented in Spanish. On May 5th, again, we'll have that same webinar, access to capital. May 10th, we're going to be doing the capability statement and networking for procurement, which will be presented in Spanish. On May 12th, we'll do the same capability statement and networking for procurement, which would be presented in English. And these webinars will begin at 7 p.m. on these dates. Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, I do want to say thank you for coming out tonight and learning more about the MWBE application process and those supporting documents. And I look forward to seeing you all on our next webinar on the 28th. And I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you for coming out. Oh, well, there is one question, Samaya, before you go. What is the gross receipts? So your gross receipts are your sales that you had in those years. So it was 3 years gross receipts. So you can locate, they should be noted in your tax return. So for those years, use your tax return to get the number for the gross receipts. And I hope that answered your question. And if there's, you're welcome. Since there's no more questions to address, we will wrap up for this evening, and we'll see everyone at the next webinar. Have a good night.